Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be making a classic in the Italian food game. We are going to be making chicken marsala. Let's get into it. All right, so for this recipe, I've laid out all the ingredients we need. So obviously, you're going to need chicken. You're going to need boneless chicken breast. All right, you're going to need flour in order to dip the chicken in. Now, I don't eat gluten on this channel, so I'm using a gluten-free flour. Obviously, the flour is completely preference. We're going to need brown rice because we are making our chicken marsala with rice. All right, you're also going to need garlic, minced garlic preferably, but you can use fresh garlic if you want. You're going to need butter. You're going to need shallots. Obviously, you're going to need mushrooms. I'm using baby bella mushrooms. This is also another thing that's completely preference. All right. You're going to need beef broth or beef stock, also to your preference. And obviously, you're going to need marsala wine. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get the rice started now. So let's get into it. All right. So we're going in with about half a cup of rice. Don't forget to always rinse your rice. Get all that dirt off. Rice is extremely dirty if you guys don't know. So I highly suggest you always rinse your rice. Yeah. Get all that in there. We're going to do a cup and about 1.75 cups of water. All right, so for the seasonings, we're going to go with salt, onion powder, garlic powder, and sage, the goat of the game. And we're going to bring that up to a boil and then let it simmer. All right, now while that rice is cooking, we're going to go ahead and start slicing up the vegetables. I'm going to do about, not that many mushrooms, maybe about just 4 or 5. Go ahead and wash these off because mushrooms are extremely dirty. You guys want to make sure you wash these things really good. Toss them good, make sure you get all that dirt off. All right. All right, so I'm going to start by chopping the ends off. That way we get a flat surface with all the mushrooms. All right. I'm going to start doing vertical cuts. So this is kind of the look you're going for, right? When you cut these, you want slices just like this, which is just a vertical cut. Just like that. One. Bangers. All right. Do the shallots. Cut the edges off. All right. Go down the middle. Just like that. Take the skin off. And I'm gonna be honest, I prefer to get shallots that are already minced, but they're kind of hard to find. Typically, you can really only find like fresh shallots in grocery stores, but it is what it is. Make sure you want to get these shallots nice and fine. Damn, I'm starting to make me cry. Holy smokes. All right. I'm also going to cut up a little bit of parsley. This is just for garnish, but this is another thing that's completely preference. It's just something I want to do. So we have some green on top of your dishes. It always helps to have some green for garnishing. Do a little bit of parsley, not going to be too much, just enough to get the point across. It's just a little rough chop. Doesn't have to be perfect, but when I do mine, I do like to do it fairly fine. That way, you know, I don't have chunks of parsley leaves on my dishes. You do want it to look nice and presentable. So this is one of those things where it is a preference thing, but at the same time, you know, the more uniform you can make your food look, the better. So this is kind of the consistency you want to be going for, just like that. All right, so our rice is almost done cooking. So now I'm going to go ahead and start flattening the chicken. Now, I did forget to tell you guys that you are going to need something to flatten the chicken with. So for this video, I am using parchment paper. You don't have to use parchment paper. You can use plastic wrap. You can use Ziploc bags. You can use just paper towels if you really don't have anything. But, you know, this is another thing that's completely preference. But today we're going to use parchment paper. So let's go ahead and start slicing the chicken. All right, now when you're making chicken marsala, you typically can get 2 slices out of 1 piece of chicken breast. So typically this would make about 4 portions of it, or 4 individual portions, but typically you want to go 2 pieces of chicken per person, right? Now, if you're dealing with more of a thicker chicken breast, like this is more on the thicker side, so I could probably get 3 slices of chicken out of each one of these if I really wanted to stretch it. But once again, it's completely like a preference thing. So let's go ahead and slice it. All right, so I'm gonna take 1 chicken breast like this, and you can cut it from either side, but typically I like to kind of go on the fatter rib of the side like this. So it'll go down this line, right? And you're just you want to flatten your hand on it like this, because you want to make sure you don't cut your hand. So you want to keep your fingers up instead of going down. Don't do this. You need to keep your hands up. Keep your fingers out the way in case the blade slips. It doesn't catch your fingers, right? So you want to lightly press on the chicken like that. And then you just want to go down the middle, right? And also when you're pressing on this too, you're also holding the chicken in place so that it doesn't slide, right? And then you want to butterfly it just like this, right? And then you're going to cut this down the middle, just like that, right? Cut that down the middle. Now, we're going to take these pieces and we're going to flatten them. All right, so I have this parchment paper. I'm going to fold it just like this, right? Basically just like a book, all right? And then we're going to put the chicken in between the paper. You're going to cover it like that. All right, and then I'm going to get my hammer, if I can find my hammer. All right. Now you want to get a hammer like this. This is a meat tenderizing hammer. You want to make sure that you use the flat side of it, all right? Not this side. You want to use the flat side of it, all right? You don't want any marks in your chicken. You're just going to lightly hammer it. You don't want to go crazy on it like that. You want to just kind of tap it, all right? You don't want to go too hard because you don't want to smash a hole in the chicken. Just go around. And you constantly want to be checking to see kind of how much wider the chicken's gotten. I'm using parchment paper, so the downside to parchment paper is I can't see the chicken that well. But I was just at the shop and I wanted to get something really quick, so this is what we're using. But you know, typically it is better to have plastic because then you can see, you know, the body of the chicken. All right, so this is about where I want it, just like this. This is perfect. And we're gonna repeat the same process with the other one, and then we're gonna coat these in flour and then put them in. Next piece of chicken, same process. Check it. All right, so that's a good size. I don't want to do it too much because it is already starting to kind of smash the chicken. And like I told you guys before, we don't want to smash it. But you do want to make sure that when you're smashing it too, that the chicken is evenly smashed on all sides. That way, when you're cooking it, you don't have one side cook faster than the other. All right, so now we're going to make the flour blend for the chicken. Now, with me, I like to season my flour. You don't have to do that, but once again, I do like my food to have a little bit more flavor, so I like pre-seasoning it in the flour blend. That way, when I go to cook it, I don't have to go back and add as much seasoning to it, right? If you go ahead and pre-season it with the flour blend, your chicken's already going to be coated in seasoning. Of course, I'm doing the onion powder, garlic, sage combo. Basically, you guys will see me use that combo for almost anything I cook. Mix it around, put a little bit more salt in there. But you guys will basically see me use that combo for anything I do because those are my favorite seasonings and they create a pretty even blend of seasoning. So you're just going to coat them just like that. Make sure you want to coat it really good. Get all the creases and the crevices. All right. And by putting this flour on the chicken, this is going to help create a crust in the cast iron or pan, whatever you're using. And it's going to help create the crust on the chicken. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and warm up the pan and then put the chicken in. All right. Now, when you're doing chicken marsala, it is cooked with a blend of butter and oil. So right here in my hand, I have about 2 tablespoons of butter. So we're going to go ahead and go in with that. Got some paper on there. I don't want the paper with that. All right. And we're just going to let that simmer down. Now, you want to keep it on low heat because you don't want the butter to burn, right? You just want to melt the butter down because the chicken needs to cook in the butter. All right. And you also want to go in with a little bit of oil. I'm using avocado oil as always, but you can use avocado oil, you can use olive oil, you can use canola oil. I don't recommend seed oils, but to each their own. So we're gonna go ahead and go in with some regular oil as well. All right, we're gonna go in with the chicken, just like that. Face it down. Same with the other piece. Face it down just like that. And what we're gonna do, I'll turn this up a little bit more. What we're gonna do is you want the chicken to just simmer in that. And as it simmers over time, it's gonna start creating that crust. All right, so we're gonna leave that in here for a minute and I'll say about 4 or 5 minutes and let that crust build. You wanna go on about medium to high heat and let that start up. All right, so the chicken's about ready to turn over. If you can look at the corner right there, you can see it starting to crisp up on the edges. And that's how you know that it's starting to get golden and it's time to flip the chicken. So let's go ahead and flip it just like that. And that's beautiful. Look at that coat on there. That is a nice coat. Now, once you flip it, you want to go ahead and add in your mushrooms. Now, I'm not going to lie. I made way too many mushrooms here, but that's fine. I'd rather have too much than not enough. So you want to go on with your mushrooms. It's about good enough. And you want the mushrooms to cook in that butter. So I'm going to pull all the butter down to the mushrooms because I want them to start simmering in all that butter. And what you can also do is you can add in more butter if your butter cooks down too much. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. Now, when I'm making my marsala, I do like my onions to be, I like them to be firm and crispy. So really crispy on the outside, but soft and firm on the inside. Once again, that's completely a preference thing. But you want to cook these mushrooms down so they get fairly crispy. And then while you're at it, you can also go ahead with your herbs and spices and all that good stuff. Now, I did put a little bit too much butter here. So if you put too much butter or oil in, what you can do is you can shift the mushrooms to the other side of the pot where there's less oil. That way they can get crispier instead of soggy. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now we're gonna go ahead and go in with the shallots, a bit of shallots. And then we're also gonna go in with the minced garlic. So let's do about I do a good bit of garlic just because I like garlic. So I'm gonna do about a tablespoon of garlic, just like that. And we're also gonna go in with a little bit of salt, not too crazy, but a little bit of salt. All right. We're gonna go ahead and mix that around. Let everything simmer in that. And that looks amazing. Now that we have our herbs and spices in there, we are going to go ahead and go in with the beef stock and marsala. So for my beef broth, I'm using Swanson. I'm going to go in and you want to put about enough to just maybe cover it halfway. All right. And then for the marsala, I'm using Marsala by Taylor. So I'm going with a little bit of marsala. You want to make sure it covers the chicken. Do a little bit more. All right. And then we're also going to go in with a little bit of parsley, just for some color. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let that just simmer down. This is going to cook down. And once it cooks down, this juice is going to have a much thicker consistency. And then you can go in with cream. Now, me personally, I prefer mine without cream. It is typically people make it with cream to finish it with, but I don't really like cream in mine that much. I feel like the cream takes away the flavor. But once again, that's a complete preference thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in a little bit of milk and then let it reduce down. All right, so for the milk, I am using Organic Valley. So just a little bit, not too crazy. And we'll let that reduce down. All right, so the chicken marsala is done. I let the sauce simmer for about 7 to 8 minutes on medium to low heat. And this is kind of the consistency you want. You see how the sauce just slides down like that? That's exactly what you want. All right, now let's give it a taste test. Moment of truth. Let's see how this tastes. Damn, that's good. Oh yeah, has a really nice note to it, really nice flavor. So let's go ahead and plate it up. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the final product. This is how you make chicken marsala. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, see you until next time. Wishing you peace and prosperity.